Welcome back, everyone, to the Kingdom Hearts Retrospective Final Mix. This is myself, Doku Roboto, and Unpro Gamer. Would you like to reintroduce yourself?
What's up? I'm Unpro Gamer.
Yep, it's us again. I mean, if you're watching a different video after the previous one, then this one, it's been quite a few, weeks or months since we recorded the other ones. As of now, Kingdom Hearts 3 is out. We won't be spoiling any of it until after we actually get to that section. So no spoiler worries there. We only have 5 games left to talk about. That should not take too long, I certainly hope. But if you're worried about that, then don't. We're just going to be talking about Birth by Sleep through Unchained Key, whatever, Union Cross, then that'll all be good. So I guess since if anyone watched the previous video, we should just move on right after 358 over 2 days to Birth by Sleep want to do?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. So, it's been a while, so I can't exactly remember if we were doing any specific order of talking about story. Do you want to talk about story first, or do you want me to start with story?
Yeah, I can go for the story.
Okay, so I haven't played this one in a while, so I'm not 100% sure how everything went down. Basically, it was Terra, Aqua, Ventus. They were Keyblade wielders at Land of Departure, and then Master Ericus and Xehanort were like, hey, we're going to teach you how to become Keyblade Masters, and then Terra and Aqua were fighting, and then what happened there was they were, fighting, but then the issue was Terra was, using his darkness for a second. He held it back, but that was enough to make him not a master anymore, so then Aqua became a master. Ventus got his heart cut in half, essentially, into his dark half, Vanitas. What happened after that was a whole bunch of stuff involving other Disney worlds. It doesn't really matter too much until they got to Radiant Garden, and with Kairi, Isa, Lee, Merlin, Winnie the Pooh, a few other integral characters for later. I think Scrooge McDuck might have been there, I'm not 100% sure. And then what happened after that was they were fighting each other, but then everyone was getting upset at each other. Oh no! What happened after that was some crazy stuff involving Terra getting upset, and then Aqua trying to save everyone, and then Ventus, I forgot what he was doing at that point.
Chasing Terra.
Yeah, pretty much. And then other Disney World shenanigans happened that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Then Master Arrakis tries to kill Ventus to make sure that the Keyblade, the X-Blade, the Greek symbol, or whatever, doesn't get made. Tries to kill Ventus. Terra was like, hey, don't kill my friend. He was like, I'm blinded by the light, I have to kill him. And then Terra was like, I'm gonna fight you. And then Xehanort is like, I'm gonna strike the final blow, kills Master Arrakis. And then Terra's like, hey, I'm with you, Xehanort, for a little while. And then Ventus, he's not too happy about this. Aqua, late to the party, if I remember correctly. They go to Keyblade Graveyard. Everyone gets stuck in some bad way. Terra, he gets stuck in his lingering will suit. Ventus, his heart's a little damaged, so he's got to rest at the Castle Oblivion, which was where Land of Departure was afterwards. Then Aqua was all stuck in the Realm of Darkness. The heroes don't get out very well after this story.
Let me reiterate the ending.
Yeah.
Alright, so Aqua, Ventus, and Terra are trying to fight Ericus and the dark side of Ventus's heart, named Vanitas, because why not confuse things even more? And Terra gets possessed by Xehanort, leaving his mind stuck in his armor. Aqua actually wins her fight, and Ventus basically blows up his own heart to destroy his dark half, because he pretty much lost his actual fight. And so Aqua takes Ventus to the Land of Departure and turns it into Castle Oblivion so no one besides her can ever find him. And then goes to try to save Terra when she essentially gets tricked into falling into the Realm of Darkness, where she stays until the events of Kingdom Hearts. Well, yeah, she's there at current point in time.
Yep,
current timeline.
Yep, up until Kingdom Hearts 3, she's stuck there for a while, and 0.2 Birth by Sleep kind of happens for a while, 10 years or something, but that's a little bit later. I skipped over a few details. Like I said, I don't remember all the details of this story, and it would take a while to explain it anyway, but that's pretty much what happens. And then, Terra, he's stuck with Xehanort, and then he becomes Ansem's apprentice. And then some more stuff happens in Kingdom Hearts 1, but that's, well,
We've
later.
already gone over that.
Yeah, so not as much point there. Basically, he's the new Ansem looking like guy. Was there any other like major story stuff that I skipped over from earlier before we go into like the characters, or just like in the overall plot that I missed?
I mean, Terra gave Riku the Keyblade, and then Aqua was going to give Sora a Keyblade, but decided that friends shouldn't, or a friend group only needs one Keyblade.
Yeah, but then Kairi got the Keyblade ability sometime anyway.
Yeah, accidentally somehow.
And then Ventus was like near Sora when his heart was split, or his heart was near him, so then that's why Vanitas looks like Sora in the future, because Sora's only like 4 at this time, I think. It's really confusing, okay? I don't know how that all works.
The game was a retcon to explain things.
Yeah, this is
where they started retconning things and stopped having a story pre-planned out.
Yeah, this is where I start to have a few issues with the overall story in terms of retconning, like where like I mentioned earlier, Sora, like it doesn't make sense how Sora was stuck as a Heartless near the end of Kingdom Hearts 1 because Ventus's heart was at least partially inside him. So he realistically should have looked something like him instead of a Heartless, but because of how it worked in Birth by Sleep, that doesn't any longer make any sense. It's not all of it flows very well, which this isn't the end point of stuff not making sense because of later games messing with the plot in earlier games, but I think it could have been handled a little better.
I'm not entirely sure, because skipping a few games ahead, they do bring up time travel too, so I don't think there was anything they could have done to make it coherent over the 10 games.
Yeah, it's
without having to retcon certain things at one point or another.
Yeah, that's for later in general, but it is, I don't feel like the retconning was a good idea. I don't know how exactly they could have made it better, but at the same time, I don't know how exactly it's supposed to make sense how it currently is. It's a confusing series in general, and this isn't the start of it or the end, like I said. It's just the beginning of it really starting to go off the rails of it not making a whole lot of sense. Because
this is where their powers start to defy any type of reality that the games had shown previously. And
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the most confusing part of the series overall is not the events that happen, but rather why events happen and why don't they happen in other points in the story is how I kind of think of it as. But, I don't know, that's just me. I don't know if it really is all that confusing in general, like what's going on, but... Yeah, do we have to talk anything about more of the general story of just the recap there, or do we now go into the characters that are all in the game now?
Probably talk about the characters.
Okay, so gameplay-wise, it's like separated into like Aqua, Ventus, and Terra's story. So their characterization is pretty much the same amongst all of them, but you don't encounter all the very same things. So you go into different Disney worlds and see different stuff. Like Aqua does stuff like in Cinderella's world with the actual ballroom dance, while Ventus is collecting pieces of her outfit.
And Ventus is the size of a mouse at this one.
Yeah, he shrinks.
The other two stay human size.
Yeah, I feel like Aqua, like, at some point does shrink in one size to go into the house, but that's like a one-time event kind of thing. Ventus is the same as, like, the small size, which I don't understand why that happens, and not to the other characters at other points. This is what I was just talking about with getting confusing with stuff that, like, why didn't it happen at a different point? I don't understand why that doesn't happen at that point either. But I don't know, and I don't feel like there's going to be an explanation, so I'm not going to worry about it, really. But yeah, like I said, they encounter different stuff, but I feel like the main characters are things we should talk about first, because those are going to take up the most time in general. Want to start with the main 3 heroes, or not?
Yeah.
Alright, let's see. If we're going to start on one of them, Ventus, I guess, we'll just start there, because why not? He looks like the most other characters in the game. He looks like Roxas, which I think is explained in this game at some point, was like, because like their hearts were like near Sora's, that would like affect his nobody or something. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I think that's why Roxas looks like him.
Yeah, essentially... Ventus threw his heart in front of Sora's when he was becoming a Heartless to try to protect him or something, and so basically Roxas is Sora's nobody but got Ventus's looks because Ventus was like, no, I'll protect you, buddy.
Yeah, this doesn't really happen in the rest of the series, so it's not like there's a consistent rule on this or anything really. But that's just how that kind of thing works. I didn't like. Again, it's been a while since I've seen the cutscenes. I didn't find him to be annoying or anything for the most part. I found him just to be like the standard kind of hero trying to just make friends, which is most of his story pretty much, except for with his whole Vanitas thing being a little bit different. It was like, hey, I don't want to fight you because that's going to make the Keyblade, which is different from the other Keyblades, which is pronounced the exact same way, but in spelling looks differently. But besides that, he's pretty much the standard hero you kind of know with Sora and Roxas, just with a little bit less of the backstory to start with. I think he's like, when he like first got with like Aqua and Terra before the game starts, wasn't he just like a lonely kid or something that just landed in Land of Departure or something?
He was Xehanort's apprentice at one point, and then Xehanort tried to force his heart to make the Keyblade.
Oh yeah, and then
that's
he
how
forgot.
He got split in two.
Right.
And then he lost his memory, and
okay, that's what happened.
Even though with only half heart, still had the power to wield the Keyblade. So they just it was like, hey, my apprentice died. Take him. Threw him in Master Ericus.
Yeah, that's always fun. I don't know why this doesn't happen like in the rest of the series with like splitting hearts. That brings up a lot of other questions of like, how can someone live with fractions of a heart, and like how other hearts are
Hearts
made.
are souls, pretty much, in Kingdom Hearts. But
yeah, but now you have fractions, which makes it really difficult. Like, can you split him again and again infinitely? Or are you just going to get to like the 4th and 8th and 32nds of hearts? Or
whoa, Xehanort. That's my answer for now.
Yeah, I can't think of anything
we'll
better.
Explain more at Kingdom Hearts 3, but just Xehanort.
Yeah,
Xehanort's my answer for that one.
Yeah, I personally like to see like more fractions of hearts, not to make it any less confusing, just for my own entertainment personally. But yeah, is there anything we should really like go over with Ventus, like the rest of his character arc or anything? Because after this, he's gonna be stuck for a while in Castle Oblivion. He's not gonna be doing much besides sleeping in there. For the rest of the game, besides the main important stuff at Radiant Garden and Keyblade Graveyard, he's just pretty much going around pretty separate from the rest of the story for the most part, unless he gets caught up in Arrakis trying to murder him or Xehanort trying to make the Keyblade or something.
Yeah, the only real impact he has on the rest of the story is he's the reason that Sora gets the Keyblade in Kingdom Hearts 1 after Riku blows this chance. And then he's also the one guiding Sora and Roxas's dive to heart. He's the like disembodied voice while they're doing their Keyblade training.
Yeah, which also brings up another kind of retcon of like Sora just the universe being given his Keyblade, which kind of still is true, but it's how Ventus was the main person who made him have that ability, which kind of makes me think if he didn't have the ability, Sora just would have died at Destiny Islands in the first game anyway, which isn't a great thought to think about, but that kind of makes sense at least.
Well, technically, if the second person to get a Keyblade should have been Kairi.
Oh yeah,
So,
I guess that would.
Kairi should have been the one to go on the adventure if Sora didn't have Ventus's heart.
Oh, that would have made a
Sora would
different
have
series.
probably
Yeah,
just died. Yeah, she's not Kairi. He can't just exist without his heart.
yeah. Now that I
He
think
would
about
just straight go turn into a Heartless and just have died. Probably killed by Kairi on Destiny Islands.
yeah, and then at that point, if the whole nobody kind of thing was figured out, then maybe Kairi was trying to save Sora in Kingdom Hearts 2 once they learned of the nobodies. But that's a whole alternate timeline kind of thing that we're not going to go into.
That's a video I might make eventually.
Yeah,
Keep an eye out.
yeah, it's interesting, but I don't know how that would possibly go. Yep, I haven't even thought about that besides just right now, but yeah, is there anything else we should go over with Ventus, or not pretty much? Because I don't want to undersell his impact in the game, but I don't want to oversell it either.
I think he's really glorified among the fans. He doesn't really do much other than he's a plot device, kind of like Kairi was in Kingdom Hearts 1. He's basically Sora, but his heart's special, but not in the way that Sora's heart's special. He can make the Keyblade with his heart. Sora can just heal hearts with his heart.
Yeah, he can do a lot of things with his heart.
So,
I don't think it's ever going to be fully explained in any of the games, but that's a different topic.
Ventus honestly feels like the most two-dimensional character. Well, not from that game even, but one of the more two-dimensional Kingdom Hearts original characters.
Yeah, I can't really disagree with that. I don't really have anything to continue off that because I'm not going to have a lot. I'm going to have a lot to say about gameplay, but story-wise, besides just the basic recapping, I'm not going to be as
Yeah.
like you probably figured out if you're watching the video. I'm not exactly the most coherent with what I'm talking about. A little unsure of myself on some plot details, but do you want us to move on to Terra or Aqua now?
Yeah.
Because I think we got a little bit more to say about them.
It's gonna move on to Terra, and
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Terra is garbage. Terra is the absolute worst character in the series. Everything bad that happens in the entire Kingdom Hearts 10 game series is Terra was like, what? I didn't get to be a master, I'm gonna go throw a fit. And then Ericus is like, oh hey, you're throwing a fit, I can make you a master if you use darkness. And he's like,
okay. Or it was Xehanort, but not Arrakis.
Oh yeah, Xehanort, not yet.
It's alright.
And then he kills Ericus, and then he embraces his darkness more, and then actually manages to beat Xehanort in a fight, only to then get his heart completely stolen.
And then he kind of beats him in a fight, but then he still gets his lingering will gets thrown away for a while. So I kind of think it's funny how in the last boss battle, it's like defeat Xehanort and get your body back, which neither of those happen.
Yeah.
I just found that funny, but that's just a gameplay little notice I found on the caution thing.
Yeah.
Plot-wise, I don't want to go as harsh on him because at some points, not all of them, but at some points, it's like a little difficult to like really say if he's 100% in the wrong for using darkness. Like sometimes, definitely yes, because he does kind of like throw a fit after not going through his whole mastery kind of thing, and yeah, he does kind of not think through everything with his whole
and
using
he steals
darkness.
The princess's heart.
Yeah, that's one of those things I can't really defend. It's like, if you're going into a new world, I can't really expect you to know who the bad guys and the good guys are to start with.
But you don't listen to the chick telling you to steal this princess's heart.
Yeah, if you're trying to look at Maleficent and look at, who was it, Aurora or whoever her name was?
Aurora.
Yeah. And then, like, try to take her heart, that's not really a good sign. I don't really have... Like, granted, I think he was being controlled a certain amount by her, but, like, he was if I remember correctly, he was more willing than just saying, no, I'm not going to do that.
You know, he thought about it, and then he was like, wait, I can't do this. And then she was like, well, how about your darkness grows just a little bit? He's like,
yeah, with other worlds, I don't think it's quite that extreme. Like, I feel like in the Deep Space and Hercules world, for example, he doesn't really do that. It's just more of the basic story in that world that it doesn't really go into. But otherwise, in like the rest of like the main Kingdom Hearts plot, not the rest of the Disney plots, besides that little instance there, yeah, he's pretty much just using the darkness when he really shouldn't be. I feel like he's like not I don't feel like he's like a bad guy. He just makes some very bad decisions, but in like in the fight against Master Arrakis, like he's trying to protect Ventus, which like there I can like see him sticking up for him there. Like Master Arrakis does make a good overall point in like making sure that the Keyblade doesn't get forged, but he goes too far in that, which is a little bit more of a discussion.
It would have helped if he would have explained to them what the Keyblade was prior and what Ventus could have been, you know.
Yeah, did they
none of them knew what the Keyblade was until Xehanort's little end game speech.
Yeah, I feel like does Arrakis even know of the Keyblade or not?
Oh yeah, he knows what Ventus is the entire time.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if he knew exactly. I feel like that would have been...
That's why he wanted to destroy him.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, I feel like they would have... he would have explained that at some other point. Yeah, not even just in the game, just like before the game, so they would at least know what the Keyblade was.
Yeah. No, he didn't want Ventus to know because if Ventus gets strong enough, his heart could create the Keyblade. He didn't want that to happen.
Yeah, it's... That's a little bit like a bad decision, which I'm going to go into a little bit later.
That's one of the only times I will actually say Terra was in the right.
Yeah, besides that, not as much. And after that is just, like I said, the rest of the Disney plots, which isn't as integral, especially the whole Disney, like, land kind of thing they go to, where it's just going with Pete and making ice cream, but that's later. I want to talk about how I don't like that. He doesn't really do any darkness thing there, but, with the whole Keyblade graveyard thing, I don't remember him doing anything stupid there, really. I mean, I don't think it's really his fault that he got, like, possessed after a while.
He did charge in and held both of them, with his arm, held both of them back while he started running towards two enemies that had both beaten him, or one that had beaten him before. and one that he knew was stronger than him. And then, yeah, clearly it only shows the cutscene, but he just literally is bodied by Xehanort creating a mountain under him.
Yeah, that happens a lot, the creating mountains. But I feel like he's either trying to protect them, which in this case there's not much protection going on because they have to fight them anyway.
They should have worked as a team like they did in the one boss fight, which really leads you to think that, oh, end game, we're going to get to fight all three of us together, like Kingdom Hearts 1 style, you know, the two NPCs and me, you know, like the regular games. But
yeah,
no, they're just each individual boss fights, and then, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I don't think they have much choice in that matter, because the 3 people fighting 3 people makes sense. It's not like they could just focus on one with the other 2 just wailing on them. But then again, I feel like...
They could have stick together more. And...
Yeah, that would have helped. It's not always within their ability to, like, they don't have, like, a wall running up ability or anything to go up those mountains to help one or the other.
They're gliders.
Well, that's...
It shows Ventus doing that once, and then he gets frozen and then dropped off a cliff because Terra wasn't able to protect him. Because, you know, Ventus seen he was in trouble, tried to go help him, and they got frozen.
Yeah, pretty much. I can't justify that now. I'm just thinking through, like, Sora's abilities. I'm not thinking their own, which I probably should be, but yeah, I can't justify that. That's really stupid. They should probably done that. Is there any other stupid stuff that he does that I forgot about?
He sides with Captain Hook, the pirate, in Peter Pan's world, and tries to beat up this kid that's clearly younger than him.
Yeah, I feel like with, like, was it, like, the small children, or was it actually Peter Pan?
Both.
Oh, okay. I can't really justify beating up the main protagonist. With, like, siding with a pirate, I mean, like, in the Pirates of the Caribbean, it's a little bit difficult to discern because, like, there are good and bad pirates in the overall story.
That's fair,
but in terms of, like, fighting Peter Pan and the others, no, I can't really justify that. I'm not sure how they're thinking,
Pretty sure he's the reason that Tinkerbell gets kidnapped, too.
Yeah, probably is.
And I think there are a few other early on ones where he ends up messing things up more than he helps.
Yeah.
Like in Snow White, he tells the evil queen where Snow White is hiding. And that's how she ends up poisoned.
Yeah.
That one wasn't exactly a mistake, but, you know, if someone's asking about someone clearly hiding in the forest, you probably shouldn't tell them where they are. But I think any of the Kingdom Hearts protagonists would have said, oh yeah, she's in the forest, because they don't think like that.
Yeah, it's weird overall. I don't remember all this kind of stuff, so I don't want to defend something that he's doing that he's actually not doing or whatever. But yeah, overall, he's not the best character in the series by any stretch. He's of the 3, the Wayfinder, or is that the Kingdom Hearts 1 trio? Either way.
That's the Wayfinder trio, which are those 3, the Destiny Islands.
Oh, okay, yeah. This
Twilight Town.
Yeah, this trio, he's probably my least favorite of the 3. Aqua, I see a lot more favorably. Do you want to move on to her instead? Yeah. Aqua, much better overall than the other 2. I feel like she isn't as essential in some of the Disney plots as well, but she at least tries to, like, clean up what everything's been going on with Terra doing whatever stuff, or the Disney villains doing whatever stuff. She's generally a very nice person, very deserving of all the Keyblade mastery and stuff that she got. Very good gameplay-wise, too. Nothing really bad to say about her, honestly.
Her friends were morons, and she paid the price, and she is one of my favorite characters in the series.
Yeah, I feel like she's the most tragic character in,
she's
like...
also probably the smartest, like... All of her bad situations were avoidable. She won. She was the only person that actually won her fight at the end of the game. And then she wins the next fight, but then gets tricked into being trapped in the Realm of Darkness, when she should have just let Terra out in there.
Yeah, I don't feel like she really would have left him there, but then again, yeah, she didn't have very much choice in that matter. She gets stuck in the Realm of Darkness for a long time. Granted, it's like 10 years, like, in her view, it's not as long, but still, a long time in there is a bad thing regardless. And I feel bad in that case because there's no way she can really get out or anything. I feel like she gets, like, closer towards the end of the secret episode or something. Or is it the final episode? I don't remember exactly.
Secret episode.
Yeah.
She ends up on the Dark Margin, which is connected to Destiny Islands through the sea, but it's not actually part of the realm. It's still a part of the Realm of Darkness. It's not in the realm between or anything.
Yeah, doesn't she meet with Ansem there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like towards the end of that. I feel like Ansem is there a lot, if I remember correctly, or at least someone is
Yeah.
talking to other characters a lot.
Ansem and Xemnas both go there a lot.
I see. Yeah, I don't understand why that's the case, but I mean...
Or I guess we should say Diz.
Yeah.
Not the evil Ansem.
Yeah, that's also another weird plot point. That I don't know if we remembered to go over that earlier. It's not a really important thing. That's the original Ansem. That's really about it in terms of the name differences. But yeah, I don't want to say I don't have much to say about Aqua besides just a very good character overall. I don't remember a whole lot of what she does. She has some good interactions with people, like Zack, the single new Final Fantasy character for quite a while in Hercules. He tries to do that. How about that one date thing, like he does to Aerith later on? He's very unoriginal in that instance. And she's like, no, I have more training to do. And then he just kind of leaves. And then yeah, he has his fun with Crisis Core and everything before Final Fantasy VII happens. So he's not going to be a true hero either. But yeah, I don't have much more to say other than just a very good character overall. Do you have anything more?
No, I mean, yeah, she was just kind of shoehorned into most of the Disney worlds. Basically, her plot was clean up Terra's mistakes.
Yeah, we'll have more to say for, like, in the later games, so we're not going to ignore anything for now. I just don't have very much to say at this moment right now.
Yeah, there's not much we can say about her character growth without getting into spoilers for future games. So
yeah, like with Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage that helps a little bit more, but that's like another part probably or two ahead of this one. So no spoilers for that until later. Granted, they're all out for a while. If you're worried about spoilers by this point, I'm not sure what to tell you where to go for no spoilers for that, because they're pretty much all out by now. Let's see. Do you want to talk about the Masters and then after that all the Disney characters?
I would almost say we can just skip the Disney characters. They aren't really that relevant to anything.
Yeah, there are only like a few minutes I could actually speak about them. I found Master Xehanort, like, this is like his introduction to the series. I feel like both of their voice actors are very cool, and I couldn't really... I wouldn't want them to have any different voice actors, but Leonard Nimoy died in like 2015 or 16, so they can't really recast him in Kingdom Hearts 3. That's not really a spoiler or anything. That's just a different voice actor. But like I feel like they both do like the best performances in the whole game, voice actor wise. In terms of his story specifically, I find him to be just like darkness. I want to see what this is all about. Take over the world, which is a little cliche in general. Is it him who is like a whole lot of researchers that like just Vexen or Ansem who like wants to study the Heartless?
Oh,
Well, like I know he wants to like see what happens with the Keyblade Ward. Like
that was 100% him. Ansem the Wise stopped the experiments on the Heartless, and by the time that he got his memories back as his apprentice, when he took over the name as Ansem, it was still technically Xehanort, with all of his knowledge over the heart and what the Keyblade can do, being okay, now I want to see what the darkness can do to the heart. And they're further fueling his obsession with the darkness, which is shown in Kingdom Hearts 1 as his downfall at that point in time.
Yeah, like opening that door and then not good things happening to him.
Yeah.
Not that that's the end of him or anything. He comes back like 12 more times, but still. Yeah, with his... Do you think he's the best overall villain in the series? Because he's like the biggest overall villain, but do you think he's the best one?
I would say he's played out as the smartest one. And all of his, I'd say maybe even most intimidating.
Yeah, he's like definitely the most powerful, and he's like thought through like nearly everything in the game. With like one exception, I feel like he's the smartest overall character.
Yeah.
I'll get to who I think is the smartest like overall character, like in terms of predictions of what's going to happen in prophecies later. But that's like several games ahead of time, so we're not going to spoil that now. What do you think of his overall interaction with Master Arrakis? Because I feel like Master Arrakis should have like gotten the idea that maybe he wasn't a good guy sometime before Birth by Sleep's events.
I mean, you don't get any like context to this in Birth by Sleep. You get a lot more of their backstory in Kingdom Hearts 3, odd enough.
Yeah, well, that's not even much backstory. This is a chess game.
Well, at the very end of the game, it explains more about their relationship.
Oh yeah, that's a fun topic we're gonna get into in about many hours after this.
Yeah, but they were at one point best friends, like the best of friends. So I can see how, and then they had to fight. So Ericus just being like, "All right, wait, you're coming back. You came back. You came back with I've saved your apprentice. You don't look like you're doing anything evil anymore. All right, I'll give you a shot."
Fair enough.
And then Xehanort just leaves, disappears. Remember, so Ericus can't find him, see what he's doing while he's tricking Terra with the darkness and whatnot. So I don't know. Ericus does feel like a very naive character compared to Xehanort, but I'm not sure if that comparison is supposed to show that Xehanort is like the smartest character you're gonna see in the series, or
Yeah, I don't feel like that was the intention. I actually do have not a justification, but probably a reason why for his like naivete, if that's the right pronunciation. I think he is like the most blinded by the light side kind of character in quite a while, because like it shows like there's a lot of things like being like stuck in darkness, of like only thinking dark thoughts and doing bad stuff, but you haven't seen as many people who are like also doing bad things because of what they want to see as good things. Like, for example, Master Rack is trying to kill Ventus to prevent the Keyblade. Preventing the Keyblade is a good thing from being made, because Master Xehanort is going to be like, I'm going to do bad stuff with this, but he's trying to kill Ventus in order to do that, which is him not thinking ahead of that and just trying to do what is like immediately what's immediately going to save people.
His line when he was trying to fight, or when he was about to kill Ventus, was "the darkness must be destroyed."
Yeah, but then again, if you're being blinded by the light in order to do that, are you really even better than
that was
someone?
Going to your point. That was him being blinded by the light. Like, darkness should be destroyed at all costs. It's pretty much the same as light needs to be extinguished at all costs.
Yeah, there's not even that much difference if you're trying to do bad stuff, even if you're saying that it's a good thing. So even if Master Xehanort is doing bad stuff, if Master Rack is doing bad stuff, there's not really too much distinction between that in terms of who's really bad, regardless of whether or not they use light or darkness, which I think is kind of cool how they actually show that.
Yeah.
And how they don't say light is purely good and all that, which, I mean, by that logic, the Princesses of Heart are the real bad enemies because they have all light and they don't have any darkness, but that's just, that's more of a joke or anything, I'll take it seriously.
Yeah.
But besides that, I mean, he dies after that, his whole encounter. I mean, technically his armor is still alive if you go into the Mirage Arena. His, like, armor of Arrakis is, like, a boss fight, which I think that's more of just, like, it's not like a canon kind of thing, it's more of just a...
It's like a fan, here's a bonus boss fight.
Yeah, it kind of same thing with fighting the No Heart, which is, well, like, letter-wise very close to Xehanort. Like, his armor there, that you fought in Kingdom Hearts 2, but he's actually, like, standing up off his throne. That's not really, like a narrative kind of, oh, what does this mean? It's more of, just a bonus kind of thing that you shouldn't really take seriously.
Just boss fights thrown in for the final mix. They're like, have more game.
Yeah, it's the same thing with like fighting Monstro. It's like it's not real. Like if any of them tried to kill Monstro, you couldn't really have most of the rest of the plot in Pinocchio or Kingdom Hearts 1 or what it was, a Dream Drop Distance that you go into him.
Yeah.
So that's not really integral to the plot or anything. That's just the thing that I found interesting. But besides that, do you have anything else to say about Master Arrakis before we move on?
Nope.
Alright, with the Disney stuff, I just want to mention this just for a little bit of time, because I know there isn't very much. Most of it doesn't really go outside of its regular Disney worlds, like with Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty or the Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. It's just the Disney worlds that have like a Princess of Heart for the first three, and then it's Radiant Garden, which has some like organization characters like Bragg, Isa, and Lee before they turn into their nobodies. Which that's cool to see them. They don't really contribute a whole lot in the main plot, besides Bragg, who actually turns into Zigbar later, and then he actually does stuff in the last boss, so he actually kind of counts as like a character that does more stuff outside of the original world. But then it's just like stuff in Hercules, where you have Zack from Final Fantasy VII, the only new character in Final Fantasy in any of the handheld games, I think. Because, I mean, The World Ends With You
Yeah.
is in Dream Drop Distance, but it is a Square Enix thing.
But it's not Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and that's going to be the last you're going to be seeing for Final Fantasy for quite a while, which I'm upset about since I really like the Final Fantasy series, obviously. He does his stuff that I don't know if he leaves the world and goes to his Final Fantasy VII stuff. I know he dies before Final Fantasy VII actually starts, so I don't know if he like wants to be a true hero, then leaves to go back to Midgar or wherever, and then does all that.
Yeah, it's
but
never really explained what happens to Zack.
yeah, I know, like, in the ending credits, I think it's, like, foreshadowed, like, Sephiroth's feather goes down there, which I forget if he actually killed him. I don't know. I don't think he did.
I think Zack dies during Crisis Core trying to fight off, like, waves and
Oh,
waves
yeah,
of
and it's, like, the
army
very
or
last
something.
few
Yeah.
people. Like, Sephiroth wasn't part of that. That was the whole Aerith kind of deal.
Yeah.
But besides that, like, the rest of them are just, like, the Disney town place where they're, like, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and the Queen Minnie and Pete all kind of there, but they don't actually do anything really important. They're just like before it turns into the Disney castle, it's just all of them in a town that isn't all that interesting. It's my least favorite world in the whole thing, in the whole game, but they do their own whatever, and then all their Lilo and Stitch and Peter Pan, whatever happens. There isn't really much. I think this is the start of it, like, really being integrated, like, Kingdom Hearts stuff and Disney stuff, where it's, like, totally separate. Like, not all of the games have this much of a problem, but this is where it starts being, like, they're too separated for it to be unnoticeable, where they're not integrated into the main plot for the most part. Like, you don't see any organization members in the rest of the Disney worlds. It's just in the Disney original, or in their Kingdom Hearts original worlds.
Yeah.
Which I don't feel like is a good thing, and I don't even know if it's the one that does it the worst, but it's the start of it, and I don't like it personally. It's not like a major issue, but it just makes them feel less significant overall.
I feel like Kingdom Hearts 2 was the only one that really got the balance between Disney and Kingdom Hearts storytelling integration right, making everything seem kind of important. Like,
yeah, most of it doesn't even do the Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy stuff, besides like a few little things in Kingdom Hearts 2. And also Kingdom Hearts 1, and not really this much because it's also in Hercules, so it's kind of like
yeah,
just the Disney and Final Fantasy stuff. But the Kingdom Hearts stuff alone, I kind of want it to be more integrated into both of them, which I don't feel like it really does too well. I know, like in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, it's better integrated, and I feel like it should have stuck with that better. I don't know if it being on a handheld really like made that a bad thing or not. But I feel like it could have just been done better than how it currently is, and it's not going to stay very good for quite a while. But I think that's all I can think of with the rest of the plot. Is there anything else you can think of just plot-wise before going to gameplay?
Nope.
Okay, we spent about 38 minutes talking about the plot, which I didn't think it would take that long. Wow. For instance, we talked about the whole thing of Kingdom Hearts 1, like all the gameplay and stuff there in that time too, so I'm going to have a lot more to say about this, gameplay-wise, than the rest of the whole story thing, because there's a lot to talk about. With the different characters, you play as Terra, Aqua, and Ventus. Terra has his more, like, regular physical attacks. He's better at that, but he's also slower. Ventus is kind of, like, faster. I think it's the fastest character in just like how he does his attacks, but he's, like, kind of more in the middle in terms of physical attacks and magic. Aqua is the best at magic and also maneuvering in times of doing her, like, double flight kind of stuff. Overall, in the gameplay, I feel like Aqua or Ventus is the most fun to play as. I also feel like the magic here is like where it like really starts to get really crazy with what kind of stuff they did. I think it started in Chain of Memories, where you can do a whole bunch of like ridiculous stuff that you couldn't do in the first game, or even a lot of stuff in the second game. Here it gets a lot different, where you can do stuff like the basic combining all the magic together, kind of how I think it's the same as how it was in Crisis Core, of how you could mix materia. I didn't personally play that one, so I'm not 100% sure, but I think it worked in the very same fashion, where you connected the magic, and then you had like a pulsing crystal, or wellspring crystal, I think it was, or a bounding, and then you could get different passive abilities, like once more and second chance, or like attack haste, or something like that. I found that to be really interesting, especially how once you knew what you could do, I think it's like 2 blizzards and a pulsing crystal could get you Blizzara with second chance, I want to think. Or like Leaf Bracer or whatever. It's like so integral that I actually like remember some of them off the top of my head, or mainly just that one for now, just because of how like useful it is. I felt like that was one of the best integrations gameplay wise, or integrations, however I pronounced it. Just because it's really fun to mix a whole bunch of cool stuff like Vision Fire-Raga or Mega Flare or some of the other weird movement things you can do. Some of them really break the game. Like, if you have a good enough Keyblade, you can, like, destroy nearly every enemy with Mega Flare, and there's, like, nothing any enemy can do about it. You can do, like, whole waves of enemies as long as there aren't any fire ones that are resistant to it. I feel like that's a really cool kind of game breaker. You could use it to really easily level up. I know that there's at least one attack that you could use that was like really similar to the limit breaks in Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, which I never got the reference until just a little bit ago. But that was pretty cool. It was like one, I think, where it was like Faith, where Ventus like put his Keyblade in the air, kind of like the Tron box art, which I thought that was really cool since I really like Tron, the original classic, and Tron Legacy too. But
I'm sure that one's one of the moves that Roxas uses during his Kingdom Hearts 2 final mix fight.
Yeah, it's something like that. I don't know if it's exactly, but it's really close to it at the very least. But it's where all the pillars like go in a circle. I want to say. Yeah, there's that. A lot of the other stuff is just basic attacks like Zantetsuken, like Quick Blitz, and I found it to be a really interesting. Like, I found it to be more interesting magic-wise because I could just do more with it. It started to get pretty game-breaking after a while with what you can do with it, especially with like the magnet ones, the more powerful ones. You can just get nearly anything in like its general vicinity, regardless of how large it is to an extent, and you can just use that and then Thundaga, and then it would just you could destroy almost anything with that, along with Mega Flare. You pretty much stand no chance against, or they stand no chance against you unless they're like a boss fight. But with that also comes a new way of attacking in terms of the command deck instead of just the rest of the command menu, where instead of just using a certain magics a certain amount of time with one health or one magic bar, you had a whole bunch of different attacks that had their own separate
cooldown.
Yeah, their cooldown times for when you could use them. I kind of like them. Like, it depends on how fast they are exactly, but I found some of them to be really game-breaking in how quickly you could use them, especially with like Magic Haste and Attack Haste, where you could make them even faster.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't like it. I kind of like it. I like the regular 1 and 2 and 3 gameplay more, but the command deck, at least here, I don't find to be very bad. It was just like switching through and doing whatever attack you need. I felt like it was also kind of necessary for most of the games because like on a handheld you didn't have as many buttons for the most part. I don't think the PlayStation Portable had, when it was originally released, had all the buttons like the L2 or R2, or if you could even use the D-pad. You probably could use the D-pad now that I think about it. But yeah, that was how I thought about that. I don't hate it overall. Obviously, I like it a lot. I like the mixing of the magics a lot more than most of the rest of the game. Certainly more than Chain of Memories. I actually like to compare to Chain of Memories in terms of it's just better overall because you could actually use all the magic and attacks that you wanted without having to wait for cards and such. It was like the optimal way of how that game was designed, which I find to be pretty cool because now you have to see like its full potential there. But besides that, there's not much I have to say with those two things specifically. There's a lot more gameplay attack stuff I want to talk about, but that's all I have to say about command decks and magic specifically. Do you want to elaborate on those two kind of aspects?
No, you pretty much got it. The melding is probably the best system in that game, the command melding.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about the whole game, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't feel like every character was used like their full potential there. Like, I know Aqua had a lot
I feel like that's one of the reasons that Terra feels less fun to play.
Yeah, or, like, I mean, you have pretty much Magnet and Thunder, which is all you need, really, for the most part.
Yeah.
But with Aqua, you could do even cooler stuff like Deep Freeze and a couple other, like, Triple Fire-Raga or Thundaga or whatever it was. You could just do even more cool stuff, which makes them even more... even better to play as, in my opinion. But yeah, it's just overall one of my favorite systems in the game. It's one of my one of the reasons why I would go back to it. I don't go back to it very much personally, but if there is a reason, that's probably it. I also wanted to talk about something very closely related to that, is the different forms you can use by doing that. Like, for example, if you use a lot of physical attacks, or a lot of thunder or fire ones, you get certain other forms that would change your Keyblade a little bit to do like electric type based attacks. I think it's called like Thunderstorm or Thunderstorm, Thunderbolt, or something like that. I know Thunder Surge was its own attack.
Yeah, okay, never mind. Yeah, I think it was Thunderstorm then.
Yeah, Thunderbolt. I don't know which one it was, but you could do that, and then sometime later in the game, once you did even more of that, you could do other things like Spell Weaver, I think it was. And then there's like this Ghost Drive, which you could do even cooler stuff with, like attacking a whole bunch of enemies. You have these cool finishers. I felt like it was really cool to like try to practice with doing that and see what you could get in terms of using even different attacks. I didn't find it to be the most useful system. I personally wouldn't have really cared that much if they were taken out. I still like some of like the main like ending forms, like I said, with Spellweaver and Ghost Drive and such, and especially Rhythm Mixer was one of my favorites, and how broken some of those were for a lot of the games, a lot of the game's fights. If those were taken out, I would be a little upset because I really like those. But I didn't find it to be that great personally, but that just might be me. I don't know. What do you think of them personally?
I felt like they were underutilized.
Yeah, I don't think that they were ever really utilized in the series very well, because they don't even really appear in anything unless you're playing as Aqua, so it's not really a big loss.
I don't know, they did inspire the form changing in Kingdom Hearts 3, which I think is really well done.
Yeah, I do like that, which we can get to a little bit later, because that is the closest similarity to that. But there's the different things like that. It pretty much takes over the drive forms, which don't appear in this game. There's something else that's kind of similar, but not really, which is the D-Links, I think they are, where you can like link with another character. I don't know if I'm mixing that up with the Chain of Memories thing.
That is this one.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, there's that. You can link to another character, and it has, like with, for example, Zack from Hercules, or one of the Disney princesses, or with the other two protagonists, where you could get some different attacks that you don't normally have at that point of the game. I don't find it to be very useful later on in the game, because if I wanted to use like Quick Blitz or Thundaga or something else that's really crazy, I just make the attack in the menu instead of switch to another D-Link to use it for a temporary amount of time, and only use it once for a little while. But besides that, I found it to be actually pretty cool that they had like different abilities. Like with Mickey, you could have like more experience per fight, which I personally didn't use, but I found it to be cool how you could also have like Berserk and like Haste to increase your attack speed and such. That was really interesting. Not that I used again personally, but it's another strategy that you could use if you wanted to. Again, not too useful. It's not the same thing as summoning. They don't actually join you or anything, which is a little disappointing. Especially since other characters in some Disney worlds just have like these instances where you play with another character, but you don't actually play with them for any more time than just one specific fight, especially with like that Prince guy, and I think it was Cinderella's story, I think it was?
Yeah.
With like Zack, and I keep mentioning Zack because he's the only Final Fantasy guy that's there, and I'm stuck on him because I want more Final Fantasy.
Sleeping Beauty World.
Yeah, I forget. They all kind of mix together for me, honestly. Yeah. I haven't watched any of those movies. They all fit together. I don't know the difference between some of them, honestly. But they all go together pretty much, and I like them overall, but it's not really something that I would be upset if they took out as well, with the different form changes there. There's not... Oh yeah, you could also get some cool finishers. Again, nothing that I really used, but if you want to use them, they're there. But that's... Do you have anything to say about that either?
Cool concept. I never used them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they weren't for the for completing the journal, which I'm going to talk about a little later, that's going to be a fun time. Then I wouldn't have really used them personally, but they're there. If you want them, they're there. So that's about it for that. The shot locks, however, which I think is one of the last main gameplay kind of things, I think is actually, it's one of the most game-breaking things in the whole series here, where you could just lock onto an enemy, and then depending on what exactly you use, like there are different ones you can do. Like Terra has his ultimate cannon at the very end of the game once you've done all the Mirage Arena stuff, which again I'll talk about that too, where you can just destroy pretty much everything, like Mega Flare. Or you can also do something like Absolute Zero or another thunder attack, I can't remember the name, or like a Flame Storm or something, or Flame Salvo, that was it. Where you could just like shoot fire and everything, and if you had it like locked onto its maximum amount, you could like press certain buttons and make it do even more stuff, and you're invincible while you're doing it too. So as long as another enemy doesn't just like disappear for a certain amount of time and say like, I don't want to be attacked, so I'll go into the ground like the Iron and Prisoners or something, unless they do that, you can destroy a whole bunch of enemies, and that's probably the most game-breaking thing, because you can like do it again and again and not have any worries, and like even a third time if you want, but it won't be the full amount. So you can just do that, and like nothing stands a chance against you because you just destroy everything in your path there, and it's just really cool. That I'm actually a little upset that they don't appear very much in the rest of the games, but besides that, it's just too good of a system, and like even on the harder difficulties, you can really make sure that no one gets in your way, because you just use that and they're pretty much dead if the rest of the magic and everything else didn't already do that. It's really easy to break this game.
There's a couple of the secret bosses in the Mirage Arena that just shot locking if you're trying to beat them on Proud Mode is like the only way. Just, I'm gonna cheese you so none of your attacks can hit me, unknown.
Oh, not with the unknown specifically. That's going to be an interesting topic. You can't do that against him or the armor of Arrakis, but I think everything else. Yeah, with no heart you can do that.
Every time I did try to use the screen nuke or that wall thing, I would just start using my shot lock and be like, I can't touch me.
Yeah, it's
never had to learn how to deal with that move to beat him.
Yeah, it's very, and that's what I did too. Where he just went in the air, and he I think he can like make sure that you only have like 1 health, but if you just shot lock, he can't hit you, so it doesn't even matter if you have it. So even if you don't do the full amount, even if you just like a few of them, he still can't hit you for a certain amount of time.
You just gotta time that one, right?
Yeah, that's just how easily you can like destroy everything in the game. It's awesome.
It's pretty great.
Yeah, but it's just, I'm glad they kind of like toned it down later in the series in the like 2 games they showed up in. But yeah, that's a very fun time. Is there any other gameplay stuff, like in terms of how you attack enemies, that I can talk about?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah, I can't think of anything either. I think it's best for me to move on to like the Mirage Arena, because this is where like a lot of the cool stuff can kind of be not very good at sometimes, because of just how some things are in there, which I know what I just said made absolutely no sense. I'll elaborate on in a few seconds. The Mirage Arena is the replacement for the Olympus Coliseum's actual Coliseum, because though you visit the world, it's only 3 rooms and you can't do much. What happens is you get to go in there and you get to fight a whole bunch of enemies. You fight various waves, and then you fight a certain mini-boss at the end, or like a boss at the end. It's like an Iron and Prisoner 1 through 4, where they have the ability to, like, they float around, they use a hammer on you, they just vanish, and then you can't attack them for a certain amount of time. That's always good. You fight the Ice Titan, you fight Monstro, a certain amount of things like the Treasure Trove or whatever it was called, where you can just fight various treasure chest enemies and get some certain other mixing kind of items, which that's another topic that I'm gonna have fun with. This is like the 3rd or 4th, 5th one I've already said in the past few minutes. But you get to do that, and at some point it gets a little crazy with where you can fight, because they're just a little bit difficult if you don't use shot locks like crazy, and even if you do, sometimes it's really difficult, like the later Iron and Prisoners or Master or the Arrakis Armor, you just cannot fight reasonably with that. And he has some ridiculous attacks where he like chains you up, and then he like summons this rock from the ground and then just tries to throw it at you, and then I think you can block it or something. You can't shot lock out of it, but the camera changes, so then you just can't avoid it, and then he just, it's really broken. I've beaten him. I've platinumed every game so far, including Kingdom Hearts 3, and I still don't remember how to fight him when he does that. Regardless of what strategy I use, it's just, not all of them are fun. Like, some of the earlier ones are pretty good, but some of the later ones I don't really like, because they just can't reasonably be dealt with, even with the game-breaking stuff. They just don't. You just can't hit them. They just won't take damage from them, and that's not fun. But besides that, with the exception of one mini boss, or one, I don't want to say mini boss because it's not a mini boss. There are some mini bosses there, but one major boss later. Do you have anything to say with the Mirage Arena, with how you can get other medals and whatever stuff with just the fights? Because there are a few other things you can do.
No. I mean, we've already talked about the Monstro fight, which is a part of the Mirage Arena, and probably my favorite fight in the Mirage Arena, actually.
Yeah. It's fun. It actually, you can do some cool strategies with like hitting the barrel if it decides to actually go towards Monstro, and then just shot lock, and then use Rhythm Mixer, and then just absolutely destroy it in like one turn. It only takes like a minute to beat.
Yeah.
That's fun to make some strategies on, but that's the only one where you can actually like strategize and think, how am I going to beat this besides just your regular game-breaking strategies, which I find kind of cool. But after that, you actually have more stuff than just fighting. You also have the Rumble Racing, which I don't think the Kingdom Hearts needed a racing mini-game at all.
I think that one's totally broken. I don't like it.
I don't like it either. Once you know what to do, it's very easy, and there's nothing really you can do about that because there's no like special prize you can get from it. As you get more of the medals for doing certain tasks there, like beating them in like a certain time with a certain amount of laps, you can get more Mirage Arena fights, which allows you to get better items like the Ultima weapon, which I don't even know the exact stipulations between that. It involves the Mirage Arena, but I don't know exactly what you do to get it, which I find kind of odd. I could just look it up, but...
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't want to... I think it was pretty consistent, like how you had to beat like a certain fight, but I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
Either way, you could do that, and then there's also the command board thing, I think it was called, where you could be in various...
Kingdom Hearts Monopoly.
Yeah, I actually think it's a lot of fun. It's nothing I would, like, be upset if I lost it, but it's, like, one of the most fun mini-games, like, I've seen in the series, which I don't know why I find it interesting, but I just kind of like doing different things. Like, I'm gonna stun this guy for 5 turns, and then I'm gonna do a double...
I think it comes down to you really like the melding.
Yeah.
That gets you a lot of experience on your thing, so instead of going and grinding out a bunch of fights, you do just one really long match on a...
Yeah, I used to do that.
All of your commands fully leveled up, so you can just meld them again.
Yeah, the only time I actually did that was during my critical mode thing, because I couldn't really fight the enemies, and it would just take too long, so I decided to play that for an hour or two, and then I had, like, Firaga or Blizzaga really early. So that was really fun. I don't know why I like it so much, it's just entertaining to me, I guess. But... if you're into Monopoly, then it's there for you. I don't know why it's here, but I like it. It's a fun addition that I don't care if it goes away, and
It's a fun diversion.
Yeah.
It doesn't take anything away from the game, and it definitely adds another... probably the best mini-game in the series, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I don't know if it is my favorite, but it's one of them at least. But you can do that as well. There was one thing I wanted to talk about before I get to like the less stuff that I really don't like about this game. Some of the mini games, like we already talked about the Rumble Racing and such. In the Disney World area, you do this ice cream game, which is like a rhythm game. At first, I had a ton of trouble because I just couldn't do it on my first playthrough. I just couldn't get a good enough score. Now that I do it and actually listen to the rhythms, it's actually not that bad. Like, you only have to do like 1 or 2 things as Ventus to continue on with the plot because it is required there. But it's so easy once you know what to do that it's not a real challenge. It's just doing all of them on Fantastic to get those later things, which gets you a trophy later on, which I think you also have to do for getting all the ice cream things, which you also need to do to finish the trophies. I don't remember if that's required for a trophy. I don't remember if it's for all of them. But for the ice cream ones that you each specifically, not the mini game, you have to do that a certain amount of times. It's I don't like it, but at the same time, once you get used to it, it's actually not that bad. There's that. Are there any other mini games you can think of that I'm missing or not? I know that there are those like fights with like the Unverse like shadow kind of thing where you do fight this like little mini game kind of section where you fight a certain enemy and you have to do certain things like keep some of them in the air or something like that, or just fight a certain enemy that will blow up if you hit it in the wrong location. That's just another thing you can do to get a trophy or something, and I think something else, I don't exactly remember, maybe a shot
there was a little, I believe, a pachinko machine or something like that you could fall into. Yeah,
that was just a little mini thing, in the Disney World. It it was like a little mini thing that doesn't even really matter. I don't even think it's a mini game. But yeah, there is like a
item.
Yeah, I want to say it's break time or something like that. Yeah, it gives you a command that makes you dance, which you do need to do to get a trophy. It's specifically for dancing. But yeah, that's a little mini thing I don't really care about, but it's there if you want to travel through that. We've hit an hour now just talking about Birth by Sleep. I didn't think it would take that long, but
I did.
wow. And we're still not done. I have more to talk about. I know I've been like taking the helm for this for like 10 or 20 minutes, but I just have so much to say about the gameplay. It's just ridiculous. There is one boss fight, which is my least favorite boss fight in the series, the Unknown, where Master Xehanort travels back in time to try to kill the main characters, or I don't even know if it's canon necessarily, but he is the worst boss I've seen in the entire series. What he does is he's like Ansem in the first Kingdom Hearts Final Mix fight, where he has these like lasers that he can hit you, but he can do that. He can hit you and make you die in one hit, unless you have like second chance or once more or whatever to have him stop fighting with your combos or with his combos. He also can multiply himself by 5 so that you cannot have any way of fighting him and dodging him at the same time. He can also, depending on the exact way that you set up your commands, like if you do Kiraga Thunder Surge, Kiraga Thunder Surge, depending on how you order that together with your other blocks and reprisals and whatever, that doesn't really matter. Depending on its location, he will cast Doom on you, which you have to mash X, and then you have to fight him by doing that. And then if you don't do it, he actually, like, it counts down from 5, which isn't really 5 seconds, it's really like 3 seconds because it goes by so quickly. You can mash X to do that, but if he does it on you again, which he can do, it's going to lower to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1 to 0, then you just die in one thing that you can't avoid. And at some point, it's like literally impossible to avoid it. So if he does that, you just have to rearrange your order of attacks just so that he can't kill you. And I don't even know why it does that so specifically. You just can't do it unless you order your attacks a certain way.
I believe it has something to do with his Doom. Yes. Doom in his command deck as many times as a cure in yours.
Yeah, but
a form of cure.
It's actually not the case. I've done it where I've had 4 cures and 4 thunder surges, and it's only the order that matters. It's not the it's the order. It's not the actual thing that you're using. I don't know why he does that. If you use certain form changes, and if you use attacks too much, he just travels back in time a few seconds and just makes it so, no, you didn't hit me a few times. I just rewinded time, so all that damage just did to me, it didn't really happen. You can't use shot locks because he'll just teleport away. He can also turn invisible and you can't lock onto him. He can also make this flame barrier so that you can't hit him. He can also go into the air and like try to grapple onto you, which you can actually air dodge away, so there's a way of doing that. And he can also summon meteors from the ground or to the ground while he's doing other stuff, and he can also use this like wind attack so that he knocks all of your commands out, so you have to recollect them, making you vulnerable. And he can do multiple of these at the same time. Okay, it's not like he can just do one or the other. He can do multiple of them. So while he's doing his fire attack where he's dashing at you, his 4 copies will also attack you while also using his wind attack, so you can't attack him. And it's just the worst boss fight I've seen in the series because you can't fight him. And I spent a total of 5 hours amongst all 3 characters just trying to fight him, just because it took so long. Like, I want to say it took like over an hour to do it as Terra, a little less than an hour and a half to do it as Aqua, and a little more than an hour to do it as Ventus or whoever, just because even though I had a strategy of Thunder Surge and Kiraga, he just would not stop destroying me, and there's no logical other way of fighting him besides Thunder Surge enough. And at some point, I remember I was like doing other stuff in the Mirage Arena while I had some other Keyblades, and somehow I just did more damage to him. I don't know how. I didn't use a different Keyblade. I didn't unlock any more passive attacks. I just did more damage. So if you are doing like a really small amount of damage to a point where it does only like a 10th or 12th of his health bar, try doing some of the stuff in the Mirage Arena, and you might do like a like a fifth or a fourth of damage to him in a Thunder Surge or two. And I don't know why you can just do that all of a sudden, but you can do it. I don't know why you do more damage, but do that if you're having problems. That may help you. Oh, and I think also if he's like low enough on health, I want to say he can just heal himself, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Also,
I can like
if you use items, I think he does that, or I might be thinking of the Vanitas fight.
Oh yeah, it could be the Venus fight
Yeah.
that does that with your items.
Either way, it's not a fun fight. Do you have anything to go on that? Because I think I talked for a while about how much I don't like him.
I think you've covered everything on that one. The
Yeah.
Vanitas fight is like the more fair version, the actually fun version of that fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can also go behind a rock and just use the strike rate and just destroy him like that. Because he only has one health bar. You don't do very much damage, but there's a way how you can do it how it won't, where he can't just destroy you. But in case you're wondering, to get one of the trophies, you have to beat the unknown as one character. In order to get all of the reports done for each character, you have to fight him as all three, so you can't really avoid him if you're going for the Platinum Trophy, which I did, and it took over 100 hours, but I did. Especially doing it all on critical and getting every attack command, which that's another thing I don't like. Doing the attack, like every trophy in the game by doing all of the command board stuff and all of the journal stuff, which requires you to, get every command possible, every shot lock, every command board, every enemy fought, every Mirage Arena thing done, have every attack at some point, every item, every minigame done at its highest thing, all the ice cream that you can eat, not that you shoot, for every character, so you have to do it multiple times and fight every boss and get every Keyblade and everything, and it's just so awful because it takes so long and you have to do it repeatedly, so it's not like you're doing a whole bunch of stuff like that's not, it's not that it's different, it's just that you're doing it so often, it just takes so long. I don't like it, and I did it because I wanted to complete all of it. It was my least favorite platinum in the whole game, or in the game series.
That's also the only one with 3 characters that each have their own journal, so that might be why.
Yeah, if it didn't, then maybe that would be okay. But it's just, I don't like it. It's not fun. It's I don't recommend you do it unless you have to do all of them for some sort of self-gratifying experience. But yeah, that's what I have to say about the Platinum Trophy. Besides that, it's pretty standard, like activate the Peach D-Link 3 or 10 times it was, I think it was, get all the critical mode stuff, beat the secret episode, beat the final episode, all that, the standard things. Is there anything else you have to say that's elaborating on everything with the unknown or with the secret everything else that I just mentioned?
Nah.
Okay, I've been talking a lot for the past 20 minutes just because I just don't let this. This is where it gets like bad because Birth by Sleep is pretty good in my opinion once you're doing the regular stuff besides some of the plot stuff. But if you're trying to go for like the extra stuff afterwards, it's gonna take you a long time, and I don't think it's worth it. Truthfully, even though I did it, that's how I can say it's not worth it.
I can say that most Kingdom Hearts games, besides in my opinion, 2 and 3 aren't worth doing everything in.
Yeah, it's just. Well, yeah, I do feel like
even
that way.
Kingdom Hearts 1 has just that Sephiroth fight to me just was not worth. Like I've done it. I have beat that Sephiroth fight on normal mode.
Yeah, I didn't.
But I'm not a fan of that one. I would rather fight the Xehanort or Xemnas fight, the unknown from Kingdom Hearts 1.
Okay, yeah, I didn't. Honestly, with that, I didn't find it to be as difficult as some people thought. Like, as long as you use an elixir once he does his Heartless Angel. Oh. I think you can actually attack him if you're close enough, but if you can't, then you can't really avoid it. But that's the other game. I think we talked a little bit about that. I don't exactly remember, but is that all you have to say about Birth by Sleep, or is there anything you want to elaborate?
I mean, I'll just give my final thoughts if you don't mind.
Sure.
I think that Birth by Sleep is actually probably the second best of the spin-off games, if we're gonna call them that, the non-numbered ones, and 4th best from going just overall series. I think the story is a little lackluster, especially in the Disney worlds, but there are some pretty good character performances, especially in the Masters and Aqua.
Yeah.
And it is a really fun game if you're not trying to do everything. It's just a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, I feel pretty similarly to that. I found out of the handheld ones to be the 3rd best after Dream Drop Distance and 358 over 2 days because I really like that one for some reason that I'm not 100% sure on myself. But I think it's a good game overall. It's very useful for the story. but it's not one of my favorites either. I personally put it like in the middle of the like best ones in the series. Like I like most of the other games more than this one, but it's not bad at all. I just don't find it to be gratifying to do the after game stuff. But in terms of the main game, with all the stuff you can do, like how I said, all the game breaking stuff with magic and attacks and shot lock and everything, I think it's pretty good. It's like I said, it's not one of my favorites, but I still recommend it as a good game myself. I haven't played the PlayStation Portable version, so I can't speak about that. I'm only speaking of the PlayStation 3 and 4 versions. So, yeah, I think that's about it, that's about it for this game specifically. So, in just a minute, let's move on.